Round 2 of the Porsche 911 rear suspension spring plate replacement project how-to DIY video. Thank you so much for watching. We're back. If you watched the last one, it was all about getting the old spring plates out, the old torsion bars out, and the fight that ensues with that battle. I'm Benny Obscene, and this is my 1977 Porsche 911. I pulled this car out of a crusty old garage where it sat neglected for decades. After plenty of wrenching to get it running and driving, a head-on collision with a deer took out the whole front end. I'm finally back in business, but there's just one problem. It's overdue for everything. Everything is finally out, thankfully, and we didn't have to cut anything, so I still have my trusty original torsion bars. Don't have to buy new ones, thankfully. What I do have new of are these beautiful spring plates from Renline. They are the adjustable type, beautiful finish on these. Everything's ready to go. Fresh bushings that'll hopefully improve the ride quality of the back significantly. And these are ready to rock. You just have to kind of finalize the adjustments here, set this in place. Something that you should do and that I forgot to do before pulling the old spring plates off is measure the angle in which they are sitting. So the way that you set the height of these torsion bar cars is really based on the angle that this spring plate sits at. And so if you think about it, it's got the torsion bar holds it at whatever angle you set. And to adjust your ride height, so if you put it like this, your car is going to sit super high. Because you think about it, you know, put the wheels right here. Here's your kind of fender. Wheels, or the car is going to sit super high. What you can do is, as you're putting it together, you kind of guesstimate where you want it to be. And if you have it here, the car is going to sit super low. The important step to do, which I forgot to do, is measure where your spring plates are at before you pull the old ones off, because that'll give you your baseline measurement. Thankfully, I've done this probably 100 times, and I remember that I have them sitting around 20 or so degrees, and in order to measure that, you need one of these guys. They're like 10 bucks at Harbor Freight, and what it does is it's magnetic, and it clips on to your spring plate, and whatever this angle's at, that's how you know, or that's how you can measure the angle of the spring plate. And so now what I'm going to do is I'll get this kind of tightened down, set, ready to go, get the torsion bar in place, lube up this rubber with just a little bit of dish soap or hand soap. Important thing, and I didn't mention this in a previous one, you can't really use like WD-40 or anything on this rubber because the chemicals in WD-40 aren't really compatible with the rubber. So grab the dish soap out of the kitchen, use that on here, and what that'll do is it kind of lubes it up for the assembly, but then that soap will dry out and leave this nice and dry and stuck into place. It's tempting, and this is probably like the hottest debate in air-cooled 911s, but you know, you got a lot of people that want this to slide within the torsion tube, where really it's meant to be stuck on the spring plate and stuck into place in the tube. And it's just the rotation or the flex on the rubber that causes the travel. Make sense? So here's what it looks like to set the angle. You get the spring plate kind of pressed in there and notched into one of the splines, and then you just go ahead and set your angle there. That looks like a little bit too much angle, so I'm going to go ahead and level this out a little bit to try and stick to that 20, and we'll see how that goes. A lot of this is just like a try and see how it goes, or yeah. Even with the liquid dish soap as a lubricant, it can be really hard, especially if you've got these brand new bushings that are like perfectly sized, and you got these old ass spring plate brackets. It can be really hard to get this back on. So what people recommend doing is grab a pair of bolts that are obviously way longer than you need, but what that'll do, you put one here and one in the other quarter, what that'll do is it lets you thread this on and kind of press this bracket back into place by tightening these in alternating patterns and just kind of walking it back on. Once you get the spring plate into place and the bracket back bolted on, everything's sorted out good. For us, we're right on that 20-degree mark. The next step is you connect it back up to the banana arm and just kind of tighten down some of these nuts and bolts here. Don't worry about the alignment settings like the camber, the toe just yet. Just get this tightened down, because what we're going to do is actually throw the wheel back on and put the jack underneath the suspension, raise it, or lift the wheel up with the jack and just see where it kind of stops here, and that'll tell us if the 20 degrees that we set is correct for the desired ride height. Hi, I'm Benny Obscene. Welcome to my Safari 911 project. So this is unacceptable for my taste. For other people, you do you. But for me, this just isn't going to cut it. And unfortunately, what that means, everything comes back off. Pull the spring plate out a little bit. Re-index it on those splines, maybe like one spline up or something. That should maybe be like 17, 16 degrees. And hopefully that'll be the necessary adjustment to take this to that. Hey guys, so it's been an eternity, but I'm finally able to jump back into the rear spring plate video here and just kind of wrap this one up. It's taken multiple iterations of setting the different splines of the torsion bar, in other words, indexing it to get the right angle here where the car will sit okay. What was happening is I was going a little bit too aggressive on my angles to get the ride height that I wanted, and every single time I put it back together, I'd set the car down and it would actually just be way too low with the tire would be rubbing up here, and just the whole suspension collapsed. So I finally have it, this is like version 10 or something, but I finally have it with the right index so that the torsion bar and the spring plate can actually support the weight of the rear end. So this right here is obviously a little bit higher than I would normally run, but this is where I get to show you the adjustability of the spring plates. So most factory spring plates have this adjustability built in. It's really only the early short wheelbase cars that don't have it, and the nice thing about the Redline plates is it's really easy to see the adjustment that you're making and make the adjustment. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll get the car up in the air here and we'll get started. Okay, so I've got the wheel off and the car up in the air, and so here we are back again with our spring plate, and what I'm highlighting right now is these two nuts right here, and you see there's like some indexing marks there. And what this allows you to do is make some micro adjustments to the spring plate itself in relation to the torsion bar. So what you do is you loosen these two, and then there's a special wrench that slips in here and allows you to move this up and down. So as you can imagine, it's a pretty tight fit in there, and you need a specialty kind of wrench to get in and do this adjustment. So this one is an actual Porsche wrench that I did buy. It's worth it. You don't have to make your own on this one. It's not too expensive. And what it is, on the one side, it's the right space for the bolt, the first bolt, the adjustment bolt, and then on the other side, it's the right size for the locking side. And it's nice and thin, so it fits in between the chassis and the spring plate. So first step here is get these loosened up a little bit. Okay, and now if I slide this in here, there we go, should be able to make a little bit of adjustment. that goes. There we go. So you see as I turn this, it's an eccentric bolt, so as I turn it, it's kind of changing the relationship of these two plates. And what that's doing is it's effectively changing the angle here so that the car will sit lower. So I'm going to live that low life and go with kind of our maximum adjustment here, because I think that'll get it sitting just where I want. Okay. And now I'll try and snug these up a little bit. That nice and tight. Okay. Alright, and there you have it. Perfect ride height. Might even come up a little bit more than this, but that looks great. So we're all set. The suspension refresh is finished. This is good to go. Can't wait to just double check everything, do a little quick tighten nut and bolt check, but then it's ready to drive and get in alignment. Alignment, then drive. Drive to the alignment, then we'll go for a rip. Thank you so much for watching. If you're into this, there's plenty more to come. This project, other projects, just started the motorcycle project. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment if there's anything else you'd like to see or stuff, your questions. We'll see you next time. Thanks. See you later.